Anyone who's done any type of wood turning knows that it's a lot easier to do with sharp tools. But how do you keep your tools sharp? Well, most people use a grinder. And I keep mine right here. Well, maybe not right here, right here. Right here. But right here. Now you probably want to see how I made this. Hey everyone, it's Tony from the Handlebar Workshops. Today we're in the garage workshop, and I'm working on replacing this stand for this lathe. I bought this lathe from another guy, so it's used. It wasn't brand new to me, and it came with this stand. For the most part, I like the stand. I can get up nice and close to the lathe, but as you can see, there's absolutely no storage whatsoever. So instead, I have my lathe equipment in a plastic container, just sitting on some wheels that can move around. Just get in the way. It's hard to get to. And I find I don't want to use my lathe as much because it's just a pain in the butt to get everything I need out of it. Also, I'm not a big fan of all the sawdust just dropping straight to the floor where I'm stepping on it and slipping on it and everything else. So I want to kind of do what I can to keep it contained. So this stack is one sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. I've got two 2x4 pieces here and 4 2x2 pieces here. We don't need this piece. These are going to be the tops and bottoms. And these are going to be the sides and center support. So this is the top and this is the bottom. I just routed a channel all the way across for the center support, so that way they match up perfectly. Now the back of this cabinet is going to have a 1/2 inch plywood backing that'll prevent it from racking at all, side to side. So this inside one has to be just the width of the 1/2 inch plywood shorter, so the plywood can go up against it and attach to the back. Got to give a shout out to these casters. This is not sponsored. I bought these with my own money, but I love the way these things work. In this position, everything's nice and loose, so you can move it around as you want. But when you want to lock it, you just push this down, and it pops this part up next to it. Now everything's locked. It doesn't go anywhere. But when you want to release the brake, you don't have to stick your toes under there and lift it up. You just put your foot on the off button here, and then we're back to going again, like that. It's wonderful. I'll put a link down in the description. I get so excited to put this stuff together, I completely forget to drill the shelf pinholes. So with those shelf pinholes I drilled, I added some shelves. They're very easy to make. It's just a 1/2 inch piece of plywood with 3/4 inch strips nailed and glued down the side. And when they're put in this configuration here, they will not sag along here. And since the pins will be here, there won't be much sagging in here either. So a 1/2 inch piece of plywood with some 3/4 inch runners, strong enough. I added this back part as a way to try to contain a lot of the chips that are going to be made at the lathe here. The idea is kind of park this up against the wall, and I don't want to have to pull it out to sweep up behind there or vacuum up behind there. So I keep as much shavings up here so it's easier to collect. But I know there's going to be some times where I want to get back here and work on a bowl or something if I need to get from this side. And I don't want this in my way, so it just easily comes off. It's very light. And it just slides right back on. And it's back in. So I pulled some ugly 1970s paneling out of the house. And it had this corner stuff in it. So I just glued and stapled the paneling to the corner bead here on each side. So then I just glued up 2 pieces of plywood here to make a little L shape. And I screwed that on the bottom here, so it just kind of slips right in to that little channel there. And I even put little ones up here to keep this nice and close to the cart as well. And since the paneling is fairly flimsy and these corner brackets are fairly flimsy, I put in these little triangles here in the corners on both sides to give that a little bit more stability. I have an 8-inch slow-speed grinder. I have no need for this other than sharpening my turning tools, so I want to keep it near the lathe and where all my tools are going to be stored. I can't leave it out on top like this because the lathe is going to be here, and I don't want to be dragging it in and out of the cabinet constantly because that's going to get heavy and break my back quick. So you may have heard of a flip-top cart before. I'm going to make a flip top shelf. So now I need to measure this space. I'm going to have some full extension drawer slides. And this is going to go on one of the drawer slides. And this is going to go on the other drawer slide to hold the pivot point. We'll get to that in just a bit. I just need to measure this distance here. And that slides in right nice. These full extension slides are each capable of holding 100 pounds each, so we should be plenty good with that and a tool on top. So I'm going to use a piece of conduit as my pivot. It should be beefy enough just to hold what I need it to hold. And the reason I went with the 3/4 inch center part is because it gives me enough clearance here for the tops and bottoms to go on. Alright, so we got this one. Ends up perfectly here. This one lines up perfectly here. There's a little bit of slop in there, but it works just fine. I could have just put 2 strips along the axle here and 2 strips along the end, and then along the sides as well. And that would have eliminated a lot of weight. But I want to be able to screw something down to the top of this pretty much anywhere other than right here on the axis point. And that's the completed shelf right there. Right, so the glue is dried. I put some 3/4 inch holes into the side pieces here. The way this is going to work is this is going to connect to one of the runners, which I've already installed in the cabinet. And this is going to install the other one. And just like that. So the idea is that this will be able to spin while these are connected to the drawer slides. Neither of these ends are particularly square, so I got to square those up and then cut it to length. So when I go to mount the grinder on here, I got to make sure I don't hit my pipe that's going through the center. So I'm going to mark that with tape to see exactly where that's at. I can see through the crack that it's like right here, and then it's right here. So I just stretch a piece of tape along like that, and I make sure that the holes that I put in here to screw the grinder down don't go through this piece of tape. So now I got to figure out the spacing for these holes. I've unscrewed the little feet here so I can get in here. And then again, I'm going to use some tape. You can see the little dimples I have here just to make them a little easier to see. Color them in with some marker. So then I can take the tape off of here. And I have those little holes to figure out where I'm going to put it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I have to redo this. Now you're probably saying to yourself, Tony, you really didn't measure very well. And I say, yes, I did. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'd have to be an idiot to be this far off. I'm not an idiot. Be nice. If I wanted my cart to be this much longer, I would have had to buy a whole extra sheet of plywood just for that many inches. So instead, I just made a little platform to go on like this. I can drill in here, and that'll just keep it from wobbling back and forth. And then this shelf also gives me a place to attach my light. Well, I hope you like this video. Think about giving me a thumbs up and hitting a subscribe down below because we got more content like this coming to you. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.